Avant garbage.
I had to beat an old lady with a stick to get these cranberries.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, those who lie betwixt,
Or outside.
beyond our
Beyond the machinations of our mortal minds.
to the first ever episode of Avant Garbage.
Here we get pretentious about bad movies.
Exactly.
Now, they don't have to be bad, and they don't necessarily have to be pretentious. We will cover some, bigger movie releases on this podcast, but we're going to try to generally stick to, when there's not any big releases out, stick to going for more, underground movies that seem like they're either going to be really good or really bad. And give a review.
That's upcoming in our slate. I think we're going to talk about Brimstone.
We're going to talk probably about Brimstone, yeah.
Brimstone, and what was the other one?
I don't remember.
It was some other weird artsy shit we saw.
Something like that.
Oh, Mandy.
Yeah. I don't know if I feel comfortable watching that movie again, though.
I think we can just write some notes and then talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, to actually introduce the topic of the show. This show, recently this weekend, in preparation for the upcoming release of
Godzilla versus King Kong.
We've been watching.
I am obviously on side Kong.
And I'm obviously on the side of Godzilla.
The real
the king of the monsters. What's a king to a god?
Huh? King Kong.
Fuck you.
So they're both kings, so...
Yeah, but he's a god.
But he's not.
But anyways, in preparation for this release, we had seen the 2014 Godzilla, which I think we both adore.
Godzilla King of Monsters. The newer one.
The newer one in 2017. And we had, never really went back and watched the actual Japanese ones. Yeah. So we went back and did that.
We watched Shin Godzilla first.
Yeah, we watched Shin Godzilla, and the day after that we watched...
Godzilla, the original.
1954. And so we decided to...
Because Shin Godzilla is largely a reimagining of the original Godzilla, we decided to...
have this be a double-header episode.
In which we compare the two.
And now, obviously, I'm gonna give some leeway to 54, just because I think just to even attempt that with the technology they had back then, you had to have some giant balls to be like, I'm gonna make this. Especially a lot of the work they did with the miniatures there is really impressive.
Yeah, look, obviously that movie would be 10 times better if it were made nowadays.
Just be
but I think
Godzilla.
You do have to judge it on its own merits.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, of course. And so with the structure, do you want to talk about 54 first, and then
Let's talk about the original first.
Okay, so the first thing I have about 54 is that for the first third of the movie, I don't think either of us really cared about the human characters.
Yeah, the first third is kind of boring, except for when Godzilla is on screen. I think pretty much in the first third, they're just going to this fishing village. They're like, oh, this boat sunk, and there's not a lot of Godzilla until the end of the first act.
Yeah, to give to anyone who hasn't seen it, it's just listening to this for our review of it. Our main characters, I honestly don't remember their names, but it's a sailor guy, and then he has his lady love, who's the daughter of his professor, who is largely in the camp of, I want to preserve Godzilla for science.
And then her brother or lifetime childhood friend.
It's childhood friend.
Who's like a brother to her.
Is Serizawa, who's a big dick motherfucker.
Yeah, he's another scientist.
And he has a fucking eye patch, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, largely the plot is, Godzilla attacks, and we have our main group of characters and kind of see how they respond to it. Because like we said, her father, I can't remember his name all of a sudden, but he, Yamane? Yamane, that was his name.
I don't remember any of the names except for Serizawa.
Yeah, so Yamane is largely I want to study Godzilla for science.
Yeah.
Our sailor boy, good old American Japanese hero, wants to just blow the thing up.
Yeah.
And Serizawa, well, let's go through this chronologically a little bit. So the opening scene, if you remember, is the sailors are attacked by the monster.
Yeah.
And we kind of get these stragglers are kind of getting to the village. What did you think about I feel like the opening pulled me in pretty well, but it kind of, like, it pulled me in, but it didn't really deliver, because then we got into the melodrama part.
Yeah, I think it's like it pulls you in with like, oh, it's a monster movie. The monster killed some people, and those people are barely making it back to shore. It's scary. There's footprints.
Mm-hmm.
There's a storm that's like destroying houses. And then to deliver on that, storm, it's Godzilla who destroys the houses.
Well, so to me, like...
But then to deliver on that, they're like, okay, here's here's a 30 minutes of fucking melodrama.
Well, the thing is, the meetings part where they're just... First of all, the first scene of our sailor boy is awesome, because he wakes up just wearing a wife beater, and then puts on a sailor hat.
Just a sailor hat, nothing
else.
He's still wearing a white beater and jeans and a sailor hat.
And just walks out the door like an absolute legend.
Yeah.
But there's like... It failed because they just started having some meetings about what to do with Godzilla.
Yeah.
But once the actual investigation starts, I liked it quite a bit. Because it's I think it's a cool plot device that when they find when Yamane finds Godzilla's footprint, he actually finds a trilobite, like his ancient sea creature that we thought's extinct.
Yeah.
And that's where he starts to formulate.
Realize Godzilla's some sort of ancient creature
dinosaur
from a long time ago. Yeah.
And I actually think his explanation for. I mean, obviously, it's a stupid movie about a giant monster, but I find his explanation of Godzilla really interesting.
Yeah.
That he says basically that, like, when the Earth got cold and unsuitable for dinosaurs, that Godzilla, like, the aquatic monster survived.
Went underwater, yeah.
Yeah, to, some volcanic vents in the ocean where it
became,
could survive.
A semi-aquatic monster.
Mm-hmm. And of course, their explanation is that the Bikini Atoll tests woke it up.
Yeah, or it was, it
The atomic bombing disturbed it and woke it up.
Atomic bombs disturbed it, and now it hates humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm unclear on something, okay?
Okay.
So, they said there's this legend, right?
Yeah.
Where they would float out a maiden
I forgot about
to sacrifice. This. I'm like, so was Godzilla really... So, let me just explain it in full.
Yeah.
This old guy who's, like, the one who remembers back in the times of Godzilla...
I love that character, by the way.
Yes, says that there's a... They used to sacrifice a maiden whenever, Godzilla started to get angry.
No, it wasn't when he got that angry.
It was when the fish disappeared. They knew he was hunting.
I think that was unrelated. I think that these people the islanders are just stupid.
Well, they said they would send a woman out on a raft, and then they would stop happening. So
I think it just ate her.
The fish did disappear before Godzilla showed up in this. So that's my question: so was Godzilla just
eating women?
Yeah, was he satisfied with that? And then this time...
Yeah, why would he care?
Yeah, that's my point, is if he hated humanity for the atomic bombs, then why did he get satisfied with just one little girl? Oh, wait, but was that before the atomic bombs?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So did Godzilla used to just want to eat, women?
I'm telling you, I feel like this is some stupid superstition. I kind of feel I think these stupid villagers saw Godzilla once when he was hunting, and then just assumed he was their ocean god, and they're sending this poor lady out on a raft.
I guess, man.
It's reverse of there are these stories that's set as this is gonna be a really a weird / funny tangent. But there are these things about these women in Japan who'd wash up in these wooden shell boats, and they always assumed they were Russian, right? Because they were blonde, and that's the only blonde people the Japanese had contact with, and this is documented through the 1800s. But these women show up in these little turtle boat things because they have a top to them. They saw these fishermen.
Hamster ball.
Yeah, these fishermen find this woman, kind of knocking, let me out, let me out, and they're like, well, this is none of our business, and they just push her back out into sea, and this happens several times. I'd like to imagine it's from this island.
Wait, what? Is there a different explanation for that?
Aliens.
Oh, so there's not an explanation.
The only thing anyone can think of is that it could have been some sort of exile thing from some culture around them where they just take a woman, put her on a boat, like a Inuit ice float. But clearly the Godzilla Island people were just throwing people out into
okay, that reminds me that, like, them pushing her back. Can I tell an entirely unrelated story?
Yeah, it's not like this was gonna not be free of tangents, or be free of tangents.
You know Jeffrey Dahmer?
Yeah.
That's. I just want to start it off strongly knowing that we're going in a completely different direction.
He worked in a chocolate factory.
What, did he?
Yeah.
I don't want Dahmer's. Well, maybe I do, I don't know. Maybe he had a expanded palate than most people. Don't know, maybe brains go good with chocolate. But there was this one victim of his that escaped, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then the victim runs right up to a cop, like half naked, stabbed in a bunch of places. And he's like, hey, that guy over there, as Dahmer's like walking across the street creepily, tried to kill me. And the cop's like, okay. And he's like, and he's about to murder me right now. And then Dahmer walks up and he's like, no, it's just my boyfriend, lover's quarrel. And the cop's like, okay.
A woke police officer?
No, because he was like, you know how those gays are, stabbing each other.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like, well, you know, that's their business. That's their domestic.
Well, the point was the kid was like near death, and he stumbled up to the police officer near death.
No, I was going to say
and
that
he just accepted that Jeffrey Dahmer was like.
I was going to say that he's like he's still chauvinist, so he's like, you know, there can still be violence in relationships.
I mean, I guess it is kind of sexism against men, right?
Yeah.
Not that we're any sort of like manosphere.
Did he end up survive?
What?
Did he end up surviving?
No.
That victim?
I'm pretty sure he died.
Wait, did he like go back with Dahmer?
Well, Dahmer just took him back.
How did he take him back?
The cop just let him.
What do you mean let him? Like, couldn't he just run away?
No,
they're like in the open street.
He was like, "Cop, help me!" And Dahmer just like walked up and grabbed him and just drug him.
I have so many questions.
Because it was like an underage kid, I think.
But I was under the impression,
a teenage boy.
Well, there's the only like survivor was a teenage boy who just got away because Dahmer just let him go. He didn't do anything to him.
No, this one was different. Dahmer just like walked up. Yeah. Wait, he didn't do anything to the kid?
No.
Why?
I think so. This is like random, like so removed from Godzilla, but so it's speculation. There's some serial killers who like seem to have really like compartmentalize their personality, if you know what I mean. Like Dahmer, like outside of his like murder cave that he had, I think it was like his parents' old house that he had taken up. Mm-hmm. He was like just a normal human being, right? But for some reason, when he was like in private there or whatever, his like weird psychopath side would come out or whatever. So I think a common theory with those kind of like organized serial killers is that they're fucked up, and the reason they can pass as like a normal human out of that is because they've compartmentalized like a small part of their personality or whatever. And so maybe the idea is something broke Dahmer from his weird
murder
side,
trance?
his murder trance, and he just let the kid go. But
yeah, shout out to that cop for being absolutely terrible at his job.
Yeah, from like help, he's hurting me.
16-year-old boy, half dead, runs up and he's like, "Hey, that guy tried to kill me." You're like, let's get both sides of this story.
Anyways, I'm still...
You're going to have to file an official report here. This guy can drive you down to the station.
I'm still not convinced that Godzilla was actually eating those maidens. That's some bullshit. That he was
Godzilla Jeffrey Dahmer?
Have you ever seen the two in the same place at the same time?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, no. So, we have this fishing village. Once the professor gets there, because there's initial attack, but he's like sunk, like, isn't the newspaper say like 17 boats sunk or something? Like, he's just going on a tear.
Yeah, it says like it's a bunch of boats are sunk. Yeah.
It's almost like something's hunting the boats because it's pissed off.
Is it a whale?
Yeah.
Beluga whale?
It's a gorilla whale.
Gorilla whale.
Yeah, but then there's a shot in the second big attack is when he like they think it's a storm, but he fucks up this village really bad.
Yeah.
Is that there's a shot, we're still not sure how they captured it.
Oh yeah.
Of like this house, an interior shot of this house being like shaken apart by an earthquake
and collapsed. And the question is, did they? Because it was too good to be special back then.
Yeah.
Did they use?
It wasn't a miniature. Yeah.
Did they use? Because there were people in it.
Because there's people in it. There's no way he could composite the shot that
well. Did they use practical effects?
Yeah. Did they actually shake a house like with the actors inside, so they might be hurt by it.
Because where part of it falls, it's on one of them.
Yeah.
Right? It's near one of them. I mean, my best guess was that they rigged a house specifically to fall apart in a certain way. That was
guessing, yeah. But could it really be rocket science? Like, they can do that now, but could it really have been that kind of rocket science back then?
I don't know.
Because especially, like, the Japanese film industry was so, like, burgeoning at the time, they barely had anything. So I can't imagine they had some sophisticated... It was just his cousin Randy, like, fucking had the 2x4 whacking on the ceiling.
I don't know how they did that, yeah.
I mean, we agree, though. It was Randy with the 2x4. Just...
Well, that was what collapsed it. Yeah.
And his other cousins shaking the house from either side. This flimsy-ass shed that they built in a day.
Cousins that Randy built.
Well, yeah, it'd be Randy Honda and...
Yeah. His parents decided to go with an exotic name.
Exotic name?
I mean, it's like, true, right? Like, if you lived in 1950s Japan, Randy would probably be an exotic name.
Yeah, exactly. Have you ever seen that thing that's, it's like this like baseball game where a Japanese guy had to make up like 400 fake American names?
Oh.
And it's like an uncanny valley thing where like none of the names are real people names, but they're just close enough to
there was a spoiler for a future episode, but we were watching another Godzilla movie.
Future War?
Was it called Future War?
Not Future War, Final War.
This is my last war.
I'll throttle you.
And there's like a list of names behind these characters.
Yeah.
And I assumed they had to change them for the American, or not American, but English dub release.
Because it would have been in Japanese.
Well, one of them is named Johnny.
Johnny.
And one of them was
Johnny Johnson.
Well, it was Johnny. Same name.
It's Johnny
same
Johnson.
name twice.
Johnny
same
Johnson.
name twice. I'm gonna look this up. You carry the podcast while I look this up.
You're not gonna find it.
One of them was named something like Knob T or something.
No, it was Knob T.
It was Knob T. Yeah, the name right above Johnny was Knob T.
It was Johnny Johnson, but it was Johnson like Jonson.
Okay.
You're not gonna find it.
History will remember me.
No.
Johnny, yes, Papa. That's one of the things that comes up.
Can we talk about 54 Godzilla instead of this?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's talk about it while I'm Googling to school your ass.
Okay, so we're at the fucking second attack. No idea how I got that shot. Can we talk about the goofiest sequence of the movie? The first time you see Godzilla's head, it's over this hill, and it is maybe it's maybe the worst compositive shot I've ever seen, because these villagers are getting all fucking psyched up. They're getting their rifles out, and I think we were both maniacally laughing at the fact that they have literally spears and hunting rifles, and they're gonna go attack Godzilla.
Yeah.
And does he even actually attack them? Or does he just, like, roar at them from over a cliff?
I think he just roars at them and they run over the hill.
Yeah.
And then they go back over the hill and he's gone.
Yeah, because they trip. And it's like a dramatic scene. Like, the sailor guy has to go save his girlfriend for the monster. But really not, because he just kind of left.
Okay, I can't find it, but it was Johnny.
But, you know what I mean? Like, Godzilla just kind of left.
Yeah.
Which is anticlimactic as fuck. And
he just went back for a dip.
We get like some stupid political discussion, which, like, literally even within the movie, it's acknowledged as stupid. Between the guys like, yeah, I want to get Godzilla. Yeah, I want to do it a different way. I want to kill Godzilla a different way. And it's just like this. Do you remember that there's like specifically like two groups screaming at each other from across the room?
Well, there's one group that wants to kill him.
Yeah. No, it's about whether they want to tell the public about Godzilla.
Tell the public about Godzilla, yeah.
It's just stupid. Like, even within, like, there's just, like, they keep cutting back to the scientists in the middle, just like, what?
Well, the thing is the people that were there, I think they were the citizens in the courthouse.
Yeah.
That were screaming, tell the public.
Yeah.
And then at some point they said, we're not going to tell the public, and I think they point out, like, we're going to tell them anyways.
Yeah. They're like, this has all been pointless.
Oh, yeah.
And then we can talk about, following that sequence, probably the best scene in the movie, Godzilla's attack on the major city.
Yeah.
It is because they finally blare the theme there, and it is the Godzilla theme is amazing.
And the train shot they have like a train miniature.
Yeah.
And they get it so it looks like the camera is in the train heading towards his feet.
Which I have to assume they had it like on some sort of roller or something.
Yeah.
They did a lot of really impressive work with the miniatures there. Because, I mean, occasionally you'll look at something and you can see the way it's like sculpted as a miniature.
That scene when he knocks down the radio tower.
Oh, yeah.
And they just green screen them in. So it's so bad. Like, terrible green screen, them, like, flying off. It literally looks like a green screen from a meme video.
But for some of the long shots, you can eventually forget that it's a miniature.
Yeah, I think probably 90% of the special effects are great. Like, you're still reminded it's not real.
Yeah.
But, like, they're great. Not reminded it's not even, like, special. It's It's like a miniature and a guy in a rubber suit. Mm-hmm. And then there's 10% that's just completely jarring and awful.
Yeah.
But most of it is pretty good.
I'm impressed that even 10% of it was as good as it was.
Yeah.
Back then. Because
for most of the time, you can believe that it's like, you can kind of tell it's miniatures.
Yeah.
But for most of the time, you can believe it's a real city.
Although there's that one part where they're evacuating the city and the people aren't running for their lives; they're just kind of leisurely walking for their lives.
There's a scene where like it's like before Godzilla hits the city.
Yeah.
And they're all.
Well, he has hit the city. He's just like a different part.
Yeah, and they're just all kind of just like lightly jogging for their lives.
Which I would be like running over old ladies and like throwing people off the bridge as I'm trying to run for my life. But I definitely think once they start rolling the tanks in, it looks really cool with that engagement the military have with Godzilla.
Yeah.
And there's a point to kind of compare this with Shin Godzilla. There's a point in Shin Godzilla where like this is the first military act Japan's made since World War II. Yeah. But back in main Godzilla, that was 9 years ago. They don't give a fuck. They're just going after this thing.
Fucking nuke 'em, boys.
Yeah, Godzilla, the suit is way better than I thought it was.
Yeah.
Or I thought it would be.
It's still not great, but it's way better.
Well, it's not great, but like for example, Final Wars looks really good. The suit looks really good.
Yeah.
If only the rest of the movie was look as good as the suit.
It's varied.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Final Wars Godzilla is like a sadistic motherfucker. We'll have to talk about that in the Final Wars.
He ran away from paying alimony for his son.
But in the original one, like the way I put it was that like it moves like very naturalistically. Mm-hmm. Like it isn't like you can't. I mean, obviously it's a man in a suit, but by looking at it, the way it moves is not like very human. So it kind of works in that way.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Well, like it's probably just the way. It's probably just because the suit's uncomfortable
as fuck.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable as fuck. But like the way its legs move doesn't look like a human stepping. It actually does look like this big lumbering creature.
Yeah.
But then we finally get to where the movie starts to really pick up after that monster attack. Is the question of the oxygen destroyer. So Serizawa previously had shown.
The sailor guy's
gal.
I think it's fiance or something.
The Beyonce.
Fiance.
Oh, I thought you said Beyonce.
No, I don't remember how.
No, she's an arranged marriage to Serizawa, but he wants to marry her.
Oh, I was not paying attention, I guess.
You really weren't. It's that she loves Sarah. She loves friend zoned. She loves Serizawa as a brother. But her dad's forcing her to be in an arranged marriage to Serizawa because he doesn't respect this meathead sailor. He wants his daughter to marry an intellectual.
Yeah.
But Serizawa has this thing called the oxygen destroyer.
And that's why later in the movie the sailor cuts Serizawa's rope, leaving him stranded at the bottom of the ocean.
The oxygen
destroyer. I know what really happened.
It's just this weapon of mass destruction that fucking vaporizes stuff. Which I just want to point out that it dissolves everything to water. But an important thing, water is a third oxygen. Like it's H2O. And it said that it liquefies the oxygen. Which would mean, you know what liquid oxygen is used for? Fucking rocket fuel. So if it was really liquefying the oxygen.
And then drop a lighter.
There would just be a ton of there would
rocket
just be a
fuel
in our
and that would float to the bottom or sink to the bottom, right?
I think so. I don't know how heavy it is compared to water. It would either the worst case scenario it goes to the top.
There's a layer of rocket fuel at the top of the ocean.
Best case scenario it sinks to the bottom and then gets set off by an underwater volcano.
Yeah. That would be kind of cool.
It would be kind of cool until all the fish got cooked and it was a natural disaster.
Free fish? Fish fry.
Well, it wouldn't be a natural disaster. It'd be Sarazawa being a fucking asshole. But basically, the end conflict of the movie is that they want him to use the oxygen destroyer to kill Godzilla, but he doesn't want them to use it as a... He thinks that humans will use it as a weapon of mass destruction going on. And
they eventually reach a compromise after they have like a fight.
Yeah.
And it's that he will destroy his notes, destroy all of the oxygen destroyer except for one dose, and use that to kill Godzilla.
Yeah. So it's... I thought it was interesting. It's me. I was getting notifications. I thought it was interesting because I was expecting like a from this Japanese movie 9 years after the atomic bombing, that it would be unequivocally like nuke's bad, like no nuance, just nuke bad, don't do it. Like a very kumbaya, nations of the world, whatever. But
Workers of the world unite.
Exactly. But I thought it was interesting because the oxygen destroyer, like Sarazawa directly compares it to a nuke. Like this is their metaphor.
It's not subtle. It's they're pointing. They're saying no. This movie is. Yeah.
He still comes to the conclusion that it is justified to use the oxygen destroyer
to kill Godzilla
because you just have to.
Because I think Godzilla is kind of an allegory for like all the rage and hatred of man, right?
Yeah. And so they, in a weird way, they may be saying it's justified to use an atomic bomb to end a war because it's... I mean, I don't know if Ishihiro Honda, I think his name. I don't know if he was intended to the shit.
I think that was too deliberate. Like, you don't accidentally make such a deliberate analogy. You
That's
know what
true.
I mean?
It just seems like a weird thing to say right after your country got its ass kicked. There's probably a lot of salty war veterans walking around thinking about...
fucking asshole.
Thinking about all the war crimes they committed in Manchuria.
Okay, war crimes aren't real crimes. I mean, I understand that some war crimes should be real crimes, but not all of them are really that bad.
No, I was talking about, like, the rape of Nanking.
Oh, yeah.
Or the fact that they had...
You mean the little oopsie of Nanking?
Or the fact that they had beheading contests, and they were, like... They had beheading contests.
Think about the Hello Kitty. Think about the anime.
And they... reported, to the newspaper back home who had beheaded the most people, and they had a lot of fanfare about that.
Yeah.
I feel like the oversaturation of, Nazis in World War II media has understated how fucked up fascist Japan was. I guess fascism just inevitably turns into a weird death cult, so... about who's killed.
Fascism is a death cult.
Oh yeah. In the beginning, it's just a fun club you go to on Tuesdays, and then it becomes a death cult.
Yeah.
Which is just like any death cult, right? Because it starts as a fun club where you talk about Xenu, and then it turns into cutting your balls off.
First you're just talking to other people in Steven Crowder's YouTube comments.
Exactly.
And next thing you know, you're cutting your balls off and suicide bombing a house of a video game feminist.
Yeah, it's a natural progression of man.
Yeah.
But
it's actually evolution.
Yeah, so I guess it definitely had to be that they're saying that to end a massive conflict, it is somewhat justified to. Obviously, the way they're putting it is that it'd be better if Robert Oppenheimer destroyed his notes as soon as they made one bomb or something.
But I mean, in hindsight, nuclear bombs are good for keeping peace because of a mutual. What is it called? Mutually assured destruction?
Mutually assured destruction.
Mutually assured destruction.
The issue is it's a real world, and there wasn't just one guy who worked on the atom bomb. It was a team.
Yeah.
So it's not like one guy can just destroy his research. But of course, the movie creates the ideal scenario of how to use a weapon of mass destruction. But I think it kind of presents that we kind of did the best thing we could have in our situation.
Yeah, or at least we weren't entirely unjustified, even if the movie disagrees.
Yeah,
that we weren't entirely unjustified in
because there is a conflict of the scientist is like, no nuke, no oxygen destroyer, don't do it. Well, the sailor's guy saying I'm sorry, it's bad, and the implications for our future is bad, but we still.
we still need to get rid of Godzilla.
Well, for us to have a future. I think he literally says that at some point. He's
probably,
like,
I think.
Paraphrasing, but he's like, for us to have a future, we have to defeat the monster now.
Because I think that's pretty much the exchange, if I remember correctly, is the guy basically says, think about the future if we use this.
Yeah.
And he's like, there won't be a freaking future if we don't use it.
I think closer it was something about think of how the oxygen destroyer could destroy the world, and he's like, "There's not going to be a world if
I think that's what
if Godzilla destroys it."
Yeah.
And so they go down. The diver, the sailor boy, and Serizawa dive down into the depths, and what I thought was really neat is retroactively in Godzilla King of Monsters from 2017. The character Ken Watanabe plays is also Dr. Serizawa.
Is he? They have the same name?
Yeah, the same name.
Huh.
And they both dive down to the ocean. Serizawa in both movies dives down to be like right next to Godzilla, right?
Yeah.
And in the 2017 movie, setting off a nuke to heal him. But in the 1954 one, he's setting off the oxygen destroyer to kill him.
Yeah.
And there's this weird kind of human moment for Godzilla in which he's
he
down
doesn't
there.
fight back, he just stares at him.
Yeah, he's just kind of stoically looking at him as he sets off the oxygen destroyer. And of course Serizawa, because he's a hero, cuts the line so that the sailor guy goes up. It. Yeah, and
he didn't need to sacrifice himself for the sailor guy.
Yeah,
he just cut his breathing tube so he'd get destroyed. So like the how to make an oxygen destroyer would be gone forever.
It couldn't get tortured out of him or whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought the ending was really nice. It was
remarkably dark in tone for what I come to expect from watching like my first couple of Godzilla movies.
Well, yeah, 2014 is pretty dark, but it's not like very grim. It's
and then King of Monsters is very
goofy, fun. Well, I wouldn't say goofy, but it's a modern action blockbuster. There's some levity to it.
Yeah, and then you look at like Godzilla is kind of known for being a sort of campy thing.
Yeah.
And the first one is just
very dark,
completely grim. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not campy at all.
It really he's this vicious force, but god damn it, at the very end they make you feel for him.
Yeah.
Because like I said, there's this moment of something I love about 2014 Godzilla is I think the reason that there's a sense of awe with the monsters in that is if you notice they're always shot from ground level from the human until the very end. They're always shot from the human perspective. So that you're getting the full magnitude of it, and so in that final shot when you're down on the ocean looking up at Godzilla, it's a very interesting effect.
What?
In 2014, almost all of the shots are of
Oh, in 2014 Godzilla?
That, yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying they're all from the ground level, so you get the sense of scale.
Yeah.
Of until the very end when you get the fight.
There are a couple wide shots, but it's mostly from the ground level.
Yeah. Well, and even when it's not on the ground level, it's on a train, or the big train tracks. You have it looking down and up at the creature or whatever.
What?
Oh, I was saying on the train tracks, there's a couple wide shots of that as it's going over them. But it's still kind of staying close to the characters. Oh, the train tracks
they run on?
Yeah.
And the thing gets right near them?
It's still staying pretty close to the characters.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it was a grim ending, and it made me feel melancholy, kind of.
Yeah.
Because I was like...
The movie's very dark. It feels similar to Citizen Kane in tone.
It was
at least the opening of it. That reminds me of it.
It was
they're both black and white movies, so that's probably why.
Well, it left me with this sense of weird melancholy because I'm like, they won.
The opening of Citizen Kane where you zoom in on the castle,
yeah,
and then he drops a snow globe or some shit, and then he says it was Rose or something.
Rosebud.
He says Rosebud, and then they're like, I don't know, this guy's fucking crazy. Somebody throw his corpse out the window. It kind of felt like that opening. In tone. Yeah, it's very it feels like a dark and stormy night, Well,
it's just that Serizawa's dead, and I liked him, so I'm sad he died. And good Godzilla's dead, I guess. But
Serizawa also known as cool eye patch guy.
Like they said, they gave me a weird moment of empathy for him.
Yeah.
At the very end. It was strange. Anyways, you want to move on to Shin Godzilla?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Shin Godzilla, straight off the bat. I enjoyed it more than 1954.
Yes.
It's probably the best one I've seen.
King of Monsters and that one are pretty close.
You like King of Monsters more than 2014?
Okay, I keep thinking about the monster fight between him and Ghidorah at the end.
Very end?
I think that's the best Godzilla monster fight I've ever seen. And that's just really my favorite thing. You know what I mean?
The monster fight?
Yeah, like that. There's no monster fight in either of the Shin or 1954.
Yeah.
And I think I really like the monster fights in Godzilla.
That's fair.
But if we're going for a more, like, a serious Godzilla,
yeah,
then Shin Godzilla is my favorite one.
Yeah, so Shin Godzilla is like the opening. We have this professor's gone missing. His research boat's out there. And very close to it, this like big-ass amphibian creature like has like spawned out of the depths.
Yeah.
It's highly implied that the professor created it somehow, or with him.
Well, it is known that he created it.
Well, it is known he created it. It's implied that he's like part of the monster somehow.
Somehow, yeah.
But initially, so Shin Godzilla is much more about like a parody of Japanese bureaucracy for a lot of it, because so much of their response is caked in this. Like, what really strikes me is there's a scene where they're having a meeting in this one room, but then they have to move to the other because they've declared it like a state of emergency or something, like a different kind of meeting. And so they have to move like the exact same group of people to a different room just to have a separate meeting.
Yeah, I think I remember that, yeah.
They're so like weirdly entrenched in protocol that apparently
because that movie is more about natural disasters and how governments respond to them, right?
Of course, yeah. Because it's directly over the Fukushima disaster.
I don't know if it's directly comparing, just more generally to natural disasters.
No, I looked it up. I read an interview with the director.
Oh, okay.
Who we can't remember all of a sudden. He's the director of Evangelion. Weebs will kill me in the comments for not remembering his name.
His name is I'm trying to think of
anime man.
Oh, Iraqi. You know
yeah,
what's Iraqi's first name?
Hirohiko Araki or
the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure one.
Yeah, that's the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Okay, yeah, Hirohiko Araki, director of Evangelion. That's right. Stay mad, Weebs. Stay mad.
Oh yeah, no. Okay. Fuck, I can't remember his name. That's gonna piss me off. Anyways.
His name is Craig.
I keep hearing Oda, but I know Oda's the guy who made One Piece.
Odai River from Morrowind.
Yeah. A dark elf. Mm-hmm. Or is it an Argonian?
What? No, Odai River.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's a river that runs through Balmora.
I was thinking of it as a name, as like Odai River, like it does sound like an Argonian name.
Oh yeah, but they're either one really weird word with a bunch of red letters and shit, or they're like a description.
That's true.
Only he stands there is the name of one of the characters. Only -he -stands -there.
Runs in circles.
That one's great. Does that character just run in circles?
Yeah. But so a lot of it is this, like, talking about, how they respond to natural disasters. And apparently the government, like, really fucked up in responding to the Fukushima reactor.
They're like, oh, piss on it? I don't know.
Well, no, because here's the thing. The Fukushima reactor exploded.
Uh-huh.
Reactors... Oh, sorry, that's a different one. Never mind. But it's still... The thing was that they that's the thing. The Chernobyl reactor in the Ukraine, it exploded. Reactors melt down. If they're built properly, they should not explode.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why would nobody shut up about Chernobyl for like a year?
Like recently?
Not recently, but like I feel like a couple months ago, nobody would shut up about
Chernobyl.
Yeah,
it was. They made an HBO series.
Are people really that easily susceptible to influence? Like, HBO makes a show, and everyone's talking about the Chernobyl disaster for a couple of months?
It was apparently pretty good.
A pretty good show can change the entire course of human discourse?
Yes.
I feel like we're not that viable as a species. Game of Thrones. But that's a really good show. I feel like we're not that viable as a... Well, okay, the first bit.
The first, 5 seasons?
Yeah, we're not that viable as a species, I don't think.
Apparently not. But, so, Shin Godzilla talking about...
Godzilla was right.
Yeah, so the Fukushima disaster, the government bureaucracies really fucked up their response.
Their official response was, I don't know, maybe piss on it, see if that'll put it out.
I think they ended up just, dumping
farting into it?
No, they ended up just, dropping them to the bottom of the sea floor or whatever.
Dropping who?
like the nuclear rods.
Oh.
And it's actually expected that like the body count it didn't actually kill anyone in the meltdown, but the body count is expected to go up over time because of cancer from the radiation. Which something's wrong if your disaster kills no one initially and slowly goes up after the thing's concluded.
Was that the one where a bunch of old people ran in and 360 no-scoped it?
Yeah.
Because by the time that cancer from that nuclear radiation would show up, they would already be dead.
Yeah, there was this really heroic brigade of elderly people who went in to try to clean it up, which is way better than the Chernobyl approach, where the Soviets...
I don't know, maybe try eating them?
Because the Soviets knew that... I can remember, there's like this lever they needed pulled to try to stop some of the meltdown. The only thing is to get over there, you'd only last 17 seconds before you died. And so they just told this group of soldiers, run over and grab that lever.
Did any of them get it?
No. Oh, yeah, they got it, but they didn't make it back.
Well, obviously.
Yeah. Amazing.
I mean, I guess that's fair enough, right?
Yeah.
Well, you signed up for the military. You wanted to die.
And then they started covering up the disaster because they didn't want to let anyone know they fucked it up that bad. Because then the U.S. would make fun of them.
Yeah, and now everyone's fucking talking about it. HBO.
6 months ago.
The U.S. would... You guys really fucked that one up. Looks at Japanese internment camps. Shut up.
But anyways, when
I guess Russia had gulags too, right?
When Godzilla or Gojira or whatever you want to fucking call it, this monster thing...
Gorilla whale.
When it comes ashore, it moves because its initial first stage is a salamander thing. It is one of the most unsettling things I have ever seen.
Rod Reese Titan, number 1.
Yeah.
That form of Shin Godzilla, number 2.
I think it's more disturbing than Rod Reese Titan.
It's just when he stands up and
it's the eyes.
His stomach falls off.
I don't care. It's the eyes on that thing.
Rod Reese has his big fucking eyes.
Because weirdly similar to Rod Reese Titan, it's dragging its face across the ground as it... Yeah. It's not really
I don't know, it's a reference to the very niche, very underground show Attack on Titan.
It's not really destroying anything. It's just kind of...
Spitting nuclear goop.
It is destroying, but not actively.
Yeah.
It's just dragging itself... It looks dopey as shit, but it's dragging itself across the ground.
Yeah.
Destroying stuff as it goes through, and this nuclear waste is dropping out of its gills as it goes through the...
Yeah.
I think my... official quote reaction when I said is I don't like that. When I was watching it, it is disturbing, and its eyes are beady, and I want it to go away. And there's a scene where when it's doing that, right, where they send in the helicopters to blow it up.
It stands up at that point.
Yeah, it stands up at that point and goes to the next stage, I think.
Which is puny Godzilla.
Puny Godzilla.
It's not quite big Godzilla.
It stands up, and it's implied that it's hyper adaptable. So that the situation, because it had been dragging itself, it's considered now advantageous to be upright. Mm-hmm. But I think you can speculate with me here. They pussy out and end up not firing at it. But I think if they had shot at it in that form, it would have killed it.
It would have hurt it at least. I don't know if it would have killed it, but it would have hurt it. Because later, once they pierce, in its final form, haha meme, it gets hit with bombs from U.S. stealth bombers.
And it does visibly fuck it up.
Spray. So, and it's the armor on the outside that's the problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't have armor in the stage that they almost shot at it, so it's likely that they would have at least done some damage to it.
I think they could have killed it.
They probably could have, but they would have needed more than just helicopters with machine guns.
No, they had missiles.
Yeah.
The missiles would have done it.
The missiles probably would have done it.
And so that's more of this bureaucratic thing. They can't bring themselves to shoot it. And this is the biggest fuck up, is that they let it go back into the ocean where it gets stronger.
Yeah, it goes back and then it becomes full-formed Godzilla.
And the reason I haven't really commented on the characters is that it's just such a big ensemble cast. It's just our main guy is...
Yeah, there's so many characters.
But the main two guys are this American diplomat, and our Japanese boy who's just an absolute...
Well, they're not necessarily the main two characters, but in the end...
They get the most screen time.
Well, there's the other guy voiced by Matthew Mercer in the dub, the English dub.
Yeah.
What's his name? That guy is the secondary main character for the first half.
What's his name? Aka...
I don't remember his name. That's why I asked you. I don't really remember the names.
It's like Akasaka
of people.
I think.
Akasaka.
I'm not making that up.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
I think that's his name.
Somebody has a name that's like that, but I don't think it's that character.
Well, there's two main-ish characters. And 3 main-ish characters.
In the climax, that's when the characters aren't really that important until the climax.
Yeah. Because then it's what their methods differ. But so...
Because the Matthew Mercer voiced guy wants to nuke it.
Yeah.
And it's implied that we'll actually take it out on in other Godzilla movies.
Mm-hmm.
And our main character...
You think a nuke could have killed 54 Godzilla?
What?
You think a nuke could have killed...
Well, a nuke didn't kill 54
Oh, that's
Godzilla.
true. That's true.
Oh
my god, I forgot. There's a scene in, I'm pretty sure in 54, that they're like, oh, let's nuke it, and they're like, dude, a nuke woke it up and pissed it off. There's no way that's gonna kill it.
I think they suggest something else. It's not a nuke, but they say it got nuked. What do you want to do, dumbass?
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
It's not a nuke that they suggest, but they suggest some sort of force.
Yeah, and it shrugged off a nuke like nothing.
Yeah.
But Shin Godzilla, I was gonna say, I think where it gets the best part of the movie, in my opinion, is when it comes back out of the water.
And then I'm talking about the ending, right?
Mm-hmm. I wanted to cover kind of chronologically.
Okay.
Chronologically here. So
just when it gets back out of the water, that press conference. The first time it gets out of the water.
Yeah.
This is just a highlight of the movie.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister is holding a conference saying that they don't think it's physically possible for it to get out of the water.
Yeah.
And right after he finishes reading that statement, they say something to him, and he's like, "It what?"
Yeah.
And that cuts to it out of the water.
Yeah. I absolutely love the dumbass bureaucrats, because they're like, they have the scientist, and he's like, well, according to my calculations, it shouldn't be able to support itself on land, which is literally a game theory video, or a film theory video, that Godzilla would collapse in on itself because it's too dense.
It's like, no shit, Sherlock.
This isn't a normal creature we're dealing with.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Godzilla isn't realistic.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, well, what a outlandish, preposterous assertion.
Yeah, according to my calculations, it shouldn't be able to breathe nuclear fire.
That's why I don't trust MatPat. According to this, nuclear fire wouldn't actually come out in the form of a blue laser beam.
It will come out in the form of William Afton, creator of the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's. So Shin Godzilla, it comes out. By the way, Shin means God, so it's God Godzilla. Well, God Gorilla Whale, but you know. It also can mean like true, so it's like true Godzilla.
That's probably the intended meaning.
But Shin kind of means. Like, did I realize that was the root of Shinigami? I just finally realized that.
Oh.
But it rises out in this.
This is Death Note podcast now.
In the
What was your favorite part of Death Note?
Ray Pember's girlfriend.
That's a good arc. I like the Ray Pember arc.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when he has him kill him?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Death Note podcast over.
Anyways, he comes out in, like, the recognizable Godzilla form. Oh, there's, like, a short thing where he's, like, all red, and then he metamorphosizes into he grows his armor.
I don't remember. I thought he just came out fully formed.
No, he comes out, like, all red, and then he metamorphosizes the armor.
Oh, okay.
I know, because I saw, like, a chart of, like, the evolution of, Shin Godzilla. It's really short, but...
You did a lot of research on the Shin Godzilla?
Yeah, I just want to...
In case you encounter it in real life?
Well, I just want to know more about it, because it's a really interesting creature. Also, I would totally own, like, a big-ass statue of it that would sit in the corner of my room.
Put the salamander form...
Oh, God, no.
Right next to your bed.
I would never, like... If it was on the ground, my feet would never touch the floor again.
Yeah.
No, I just want, like a 7-foot-tall Godzilla statue, like, with his arm out so I can high-five him.
I want a 7-foot-tall Groudon plushie.
That would be awesome.
But we live in reality, not Fantasyland, Will.
When it comes out of the water, they have like this complex plan to kill it, where I think stage 1...
They nuke it.
No. Stage 1, they fire like some missiles at it.
Well, they basically shoot it with some bullets, and it's super ineffective.
Yeah.
And so they shoot some missiles at it, and it doesn't work.
The tanks start to do something.
And then they shoot it with a bunch of tanks, And then they shoot out with a bunch of planes.
And the U.S. Air Force is like the only ones who
Yeah.
are the only ones who make a scratch in it. But as soon as they do, because it's like a hyper-evolving being,
it kills the Prime Minister.
Yeah, so they're evacuating the Prime Minister's helicopter
because it gets pretty close to him.
While they're distracting it. But it's right then that it evolves the nuclear fire,
Which activates its atomic fire.
What I think is really interesting about it, it starts as just a flame.
Yeah, and then it heats up to
and
lasers.
Concentrates into just like a beam.
And then when it fizzles out, it goes back to a flame.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the most beautiful scenes in a movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's
when it first activates its atomic
this
fire.
opera thing kicks in, and it starts firing out of its mouth, and it's just sawing through buildings. And then it starts like emitting from all the spines on its body as well.
And then it cuts to like this. It cuts to a wide shot where you see this full city is on fire.
Yeah.
And there's just like these fucking beams of light coming off of Godzilla.
One of the most beautiful scenes ever, and it's weird that it's a giant lizard destroying shit, but it's gorgeous.
This is the name of my sex tape.
And I didn't even register that the Prime Minister got fucking vaporized in that sequence until much later.
Until later when they're like, yeah, the Prime Minister got fucking vaporized.
I think I was just so caught up in
how beautiful it was.
Yeah. And so we have
that really made the movie. Like, if you take that out, the movie's just okay. But that scene was amazing.
Our characters regroup, and they kind of have 2 plans, because it goes dormant after this, because it's used up a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And there's an ultimatum that if they don't come up with some shit within 15 days, I think.
Something like 2 weeks.
15 days is when it'll be powered up again.
Yeah.
If they don't come up with a solution, the U.S. is just going to nuke it. And it's implied that will kill it. Because I think they say just the actual force of it.
The pure heat of it.
Well, not the heat, but just the pure, concussive force of a nuclear bomb.
Well, that's what they basically say. He would eat the nuclear energy. But they're trying to overheat him, so the pure force and heat would just destroy him.
Vaporize him. It's implied that it would work, but our main guy comes up with this idea to put a blood coagulant into him.
Yeah, because basically it's a nuclear reactor in itself.
It's a biological nuclear reactor.
And if he stops the blood flow, it'll freeze.
Yeah.
And it's about this point that we get a shot where it pans up to the tail, and then you hear a crack sound.
Yeah.
And it looks like something opened on it, and then nothing.
Yeah, they get this idea, they rig it up, on the day before it get nuked.
They get an extension. The American diplomat lady has to go get an extension.
She pulls some strings and gets
gets a 1 or 2 day extension.
And one of I think the coolest sequences of everything I've ever seen.
On the countdown, extension on the nuclear clock. Countdown before America sends the nuke.
One of the coolest, plans I've ever seen laid out on film is the first thing they do is they send these fucking train bombs at its feet, the disoriented, once it wakes back up.
Knock it over.
And
well, hold on, the first phase. Oh yeah, once it wakes back up from sleep.
Once it wakes back up, they send these bombs are loaded on trains to blow it up, and they knock it over.
Well, first they send drones at it.
Yeah.
To get it to use up its nuclear energy.
Blowing up the waves of drones. Then they send these train bombs to knock it over, and it's very much like a 3-stage boss fight.
Yeah.
Because they literally...
Well, it's only 2 stages, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then they get cranes to open into its mouth and administer blood coagulant. And then it gets up before they can fully get it in there.
I think they say it's 3% of it or something.
3%?
33.
Yeah, and
then
a
third.
Yeah, and then they have to repeat the process, but the second time they get all of it in. And then it stands up for one more triumphant roar, and then it freezes.
Yeah, I think it wasn't powering up the beam, about to vaporize.
Yeah, I think it was powering it up, and it was doing a roar, and then it freezes.
Yeah, that scene was one of the coolest executed plans I've ever seen, because if you remember in the second stage, when there's a second wave of train bombs, they specifically start knocking skyscrapers over onto it, which knock it over so that they can actually administer
Tire it out. Yeah,
I thought it was really interesting because normally in a monster movie, the collateral damage is so much negative to the humans, because we watch normally Godzilla is just walking through buildings
the town
it's
is
nothing,
fully evacuated at that point.
Normally monsters are just walking through buildings like it's nothing, but they just start dropping skyscrapers on this motherfucker to slow him down.
Because Shin Godzilla is smaller. You know, he's
the biggest Godzilla to date.
He's the biggest one?
He's the biggest one.
Oh, then I guess that city is way bigger.
Well, it's Tokyo.
Yeah, I guess.
But they get him, world is saved. Well, they're gonna have to get, they say he'll, nuclear, decay eventually.
They say the half-life of the particle that makes him whatever he is only, 2 months.
It was, a couple of years.
No. It was, 2 months.
Okay. But as long as
and then they said after that, it gets much worse.
As
maybe it was, 2 years.
I think that they basically implied as long as they keep him frozen, keep administering coagulant, that he'll stay...
Well, I don't think they need to keep administering it. I think the idea is that he probably won't unfreeze.
Okay.
Because he's fully frozen at the end.
Regardless, the situation is, stable, at least. It's maintained.
The clock is still, if he revives, the countdown will restart.
Yeah, exactly. Which is... It's treated as kind of comedic. Because he's technically now there's that, this sword of Damocles over Japan's head if that thing's wakes up.
And they'd only have an hour.
Exactly.
But in a little more than 2 years.
Yeah.
He'll be completely done.
And I would assume that I would set up 24/7 team with coagulant outside of his mouth, so that if he starts waking up to start spraying that shit.
They don't have to get any more coagulant once he's frozen.
Just saying.
But they have an hour to administer more if they need be.
Until he goes full power, and they nuke him. But yeah, I really like Shin Godzilla. Do you have any other thoughts on it? I was gonna go look at.
Talk about the last scene. They pan up.
Yeah.
And it looks like smaller, weird alien-looking creatures.
Kind of reptilian humanoid.
Yeah, were coming out of its tail.
That I think it realized, because we talk about it's constantly adapting. I think that it thought that, humans are the way to go. I guess I'll hyper-evolve into these human things.
I'll make, smaller,
mobile,
yeah, super strong, but...
Gojiras,
yeah. Because they look like they're probably, 7-8 feet tall.
Yeah, exactly.
The guys, maybe.
It's very much Cloverfield, how the monster starts hatching, smaller ones that start running around.
Yeah. It did remind me a lot of Cloverfield. At least the monster. There's the opening scene is found footage.
Yeah. Very Cloverfield.
And then that it's hatching smaller things.
Cloverfield is very much the millennial Godzilla movie.
Cloverfield is like Godzilla, but not as good.
Well, you get what I mean by the millennial Godzilla movie of.
I just wanted to see some Godzilla come kick Cloverfield's ass.
I think that he would destroy Cloverfield.
Oh yeah, because Cloverfield's I'm gonna hatch a bunch of little shits to come bite at your ankles. Mm. And Godzilla's well, come eat my deadbeat son.
Yeah, I was
gonna shit.
Yeah, he would send Manila, and Manila would destroy those things.
Is his name Manila?
It was Manila in the English dubs, and I think the Japanese things call him Manila.
Called a mistake.
Yeah. So, you any closing thoughts after the ending theme or the ending scene of
Godzilla intentionally lost custody over his son.
Well, I was just comparing the two movies, since this episode's technically Godzilla versus Godzilla.
Shin Godzilla is better.
I agree.
They both go for a very similar tone.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it has a lot to do with the technical capabilities.
Yeah.
But I also think it tells a more interesting story with the evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And just really the Fukushima natural disaster thing.
Yeah.
Is a more prescient analogy to our day.
Mm-hmm.
Than the atom bomb is.
Well, yeah, it's like if you had, I think his name's Ishiro Honda. If you had Ishiro Honda, brought him into modern day, and you let him remake 1954 Godzilla with modern technology, it'd probably be almost as good as Shin Godzilla.
I think Shin Godzilla is very much the successor.
Yes.
In every way to the original.
It's just I don't want to say
it's a modern reimagining.
Remake has a negative connotation to it. Reimagining is a great way.
Because it's very different, but it keeps the same tone, and some of the same basic plot aspects.
And I think it improves on a lot of the things that it retouches.
Because the idea is it fed on nuclear waste that was improperly dumped near an island.
So, yeah, it definitely improves upon the things that are laid there.
I think the foundation of the movie is exactly the same as 1954.
Exactly.
But
monster emerges, we have to deal with it.
It expands and develops in a much more interesting way for me.
I agree.
Than the original.
The themes are much better than just, do we use the bomb on this monster
I do
or
think
not?
the analogy to the real world was a little bit on the nose in the first one.
Yeah.
Like they just straight up said, yeah, this is like the nuclear bomb.
Yeah. Well, they have at some point a lady say, I barely survived a Nagasaki. Now I have to contend
but not
with
that.
Godzilla.
The other guy, what's his name? The eye patch guy.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
Sarazawa.
Sarazawa literally is like, the oxygen destroyer is like the nuke.
Well, he says, am I going to add another weapon to humanity's arsenal?
Yeah.
Like I think they're calling them H-bombs. Like the H-bomb, the oxygen destroyer.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing thoughts for this first
aren't
episode?
hydrogen bombs already the same as it? Is a hydrogen bomb similar to...
It's slightly different than just a generic atomic bomb.
Well, what's the difference?
I think it's the mechanism used to set them off is different. I think they figured out a way to create more force with it.
Oh, okay.
You have any closing thoughts for this opening episode of
Avant Garbage?
Avant Garbage?
So, I just want to give a preview. Now, next week's episode is definitely going to be Godzilla vs. King Kong, the original, versus Godzilla vs. King Kong 2021. But another episode we have slated up is the movie Godzilla the Final War. And let me just say...
I promise you, viewers, this will not only be Godzilla content.
It will not only be Godzilla content. We've just been on a Godzilla binge recently. We'll probably put on an episode of another movie.
Next.
Because Godzilla, we're going to see Godzilla in theaters... 2 days after this is recorded? Godzilla vs. King Kong. 2 days after this is recorded. So we'll probably make that episode next week. Or the week after this comes out or something. Soon after this comes out. It's going to be the next one.
Stockpile Godzilla episodes.
Yeah. After that, we will release a regular... Well, not regular, but another...
Non-Godzilla.
A non-Godzilla... I was thinking we might do the man who killed Hitler and then Bigfoot.
That would be a great one.
Yeah. What are some other ideas?
I still want to cover Mandy and Brimstone.
Mandy, maybe Brimstone, yeah. And then sometime later we'll get around to Godzilla the Final War.
Yeah.
But can I just say about that movie, oh my god. That's the craziest movie I've ever seen.
I agree. It's
the most ridiculous movie I've ever seen.
It's actually, it was a third... I'm somewhat invested in these characters.
Yeah, Godzilla the Final War.
A third, oh god, what is happening? A third, oh hey, I really like watching these monsters fight each other.
Yeah, because there's this whole completely disconnected sci-fi melodrama.
Well, let's save this for the episode. Closing thoughts on Shin Godzilla, Godzilla?
It's a pretty good movie.
Pretty good movie.
Pretty good movie. We'll give it the official Avant Garbage score of, what are we going to give it?
Pretty good.
Pretty good out of 10.
Oh, well, that's 1954 is pretty good out of 10.
And
Shin Godzilla is
really,
very good.
Very good out of 10.
Yeah.
Slightly better.
Tune in, I'm not going to say next week, because this is definitely not have a normal release cycle.
Yeah, we don't really know when this episode is even going to get released.
Yeah, because podcasts are a bitch that because you have to listen through the entire thing.
Yeah. And, I hate listening to our own podcast. I mean, what kind of loser listens to this?
What kind of loser?
I don't know. Subhuman war criminals.
Am I good to end it?
No, never.